Hi. This is a video about the Akashagarbha Sutra, which is pictured right here. This is the beginning of it. So this PDF that I'm displaying is taken directly from the 84,000 website. So if you click on this, yes, allow it. Let's see. This is what you see at that website. Now, the reason why I have a made my own PDF version of this is because this PDF is to be used in a group recitation. So there's a little bit of extra formatting in there just to make it easier to see on screen and things like that. But it's taken directly from this translation found at the 84,000 website. But let's go back to the PDF. Let's see. How did I get? Oh, yeah. So, oh yeah, it doesn't need to be this big, right? So let's maybe like this. Okay, so there's a number of really interesting things about the Akashagarbha Sutra. This particular translation is taken from the Tibetan. If you scroll all the way to the end of this PDF, one other thing that is included here is a direct link to the Chinese version that you can find online at the C-Beta, the Chinese Buddhist Electronic Text Association website. I'm not sure what that says, but something in Chinese. And you can use the automatic English translation that should pop up on your browser, just like it did on mine. And so this is, worth looking at if you're interested in comparing the Chinese and Tibetan texts. But there's at least three really interesting things about the Akashagarbha Sutra, one of which I'm going to focus on in this video. The thing that I'm going to focus on in this video is the advice that's given for beginner bodhisattvas in the Akashagarbha Sutra. And one of the reasons why that's interesting is because of another thing that makes the Akashagarbha Sutra very interesting, is that if you read Shantideva's Way of the Bodhisattva, Shantideva suggests that beginner bodhisattvas should begin their sutra studies with this sutra, the Akashagarbha Sutra. And so it's pretty clear that one of the reasons for that is because Akashagarbha has a lot to say about beginner bodhisattvas. Now, since this is in PDF format, it should be easy for me to search. I'm going to search for the word beginner in this text. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. There's another very interesting thing about this sutra, which I'll do a separate video on. Is the two visions that Akashagarbha is able to induce people to have. One is a vision of just pure, what I would say, pure emptiness, and which people don't particularly like or get properly. And then Akashagarbha is also able to induce in people a vision of Shakyamuni Buddha's Buddha field, which is where we live, the Saha world, normally thought of as a realm of suffering. Akashagarbha is able to allow people to see it as a genuine Pure Land. Very similar. There's a very similar scene in the Vimalakirti Sutra. But if we go on and look a little bit further in the sutra for let's see, how can I get this? Here we go. Oh yeah, okay. So, and this is well into the sutra. The numbering is taken directly from the 84,000 website. There are 8 root transgressions for sons of noble family who are beginners, and who have correctly embarked on the Mahayana path. These root transgressions cause confusion, and beginners who have correctly entered the Mahayana will forfeit the entirety of their previously generated roots of virtue, and they will be in a state of transgression. So this is interesting for those of us who are beginner bodhisattvas. What are these 8 root transgressions? And so the first root transgression begins with a rather, I'm going to make this font a little bit bigger. Let's see, how big can I make it and still get each page to fit on the screen? Maybe like 120, yeah. There we go. The description of the first root transgression for, is that what he calls them, root transgression? Yeah, sometimes they're called downfalls. Let's see, yeah, right. There are beings who are born in this worldly realm of afflictions, the Saha world, and 5 impurities, a realm of afflictions and 5 of impurities, because they conducted themselves in evil ways in the past. So that's everybody, right? I mean, we wouldn't be living in this realm of afflictions and 5 impurities otherwise. But he's not talking about everyone in this Saha world. He's talking about those who have had the great good fortune to meet and rely upon a spiritual friend, that is a kalyana-mitra. If you're familiar with that phrase, it's a very common phrase found throughout Buddhist teachings in both Mahayana and non-Mahayana Buddhism. And the origin of that term, kalyana-mitra, goes back to a famous scene, I forget which sutra it's in, but where Ananda comes to the Buddha and says, "Hey Buddha, I just figured something out, let me tell you." And the Buddha says, "Oh, wonderful, Ananda. What is it?" And Ananda says, "I realized that like half of all of this, half of the entire Dharma path is having good Dharma friends, kalyana-mitras." And the Buddha said, "Sorry, Ananda, you didn't get that quite right. That is the whole of the path, having good Dharma friends, Dharma friendship." Anyway, so among all the beings who are born in this realm of afflictions and 5 impurities, there are some who have the great good fortune to meet and rely upon kalyana-mitras, spiritual friends, and are then able to listen to the most profound Mahayana teachings, owing to the tiny, so like everyone in this realm of afflictions and 5 impurities, we have all conducted ourselves in evil ways in the past. But because we have a tiny root of virtue, we have had this great good fortune of meeting good spiritual friends and of being able to listen to the most profound Mahayana teachings. And then what happens? So these are warnings, these are problems, these are mistakes that beginner bodhisattvas make. And so here's the first mistake. They, that's us, beginner bodhisattvas, they listen to these teachings with little understanding. Nevertheless, these sons of noble family, that's people like us who have had the good fortune to encounter the Dharma, and who have embraced the Dharma to the extent of finding good spiritual friends and listening to them, even with little understanding, we give rise to the aspiration to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, bodhicitta. Actually, when it's phrased as unsurpassable, perfectly complete enlightenment, it's not just bodhicitta; it is samyak sambodhicitta, the aspiration to that. Some beginner bodhisattvas, so that's good. A little, lots of evil conduct in the past, a tiny root of virtue, resulting in being born in the Saha world, the world of suffering, but still having this great, wonderful opportunity to hear and practice the Dharma with this wonderful gift of good spiritual friends, kalyana-mitras. Kalyana-mitras. Look it up. Kalyana-mitras. Let's see. And give rise to bodhicitta. Some beginner bodhisattvas among them listen to the collection of sutras that present the most profound emptiness, transmit and read them in the presence of other sentient beings who understand as little as those just mentioned. So people who have encountered the Dharma, embraced the Dharma, but only understand it a little, but nevertheless have been able to give rise to bodhicitta. And then meeting others who are also drawn to the Dharma, and then attempting to expound to them these sutras that present the most profound teachings on emptiness, and then attempting to explain this to others. They recall these sutras in great detail in word and meaning, just as they heard and understood them, and they teach them to others. But these ordinary, immature beings who have not gone through arduous training hear such profound sutras, they become extremely frightened and terrified. Because they are terrified, they turn their back from attaining unsurpassable, perfectly complete enlightenment and aspire to the vehicle of the Shravakas. In other words, they don't give rise to bodhicitta. I mean, that's what, so instead of, they are presented with teachings on emptiness. And I, in my opinion, under the same heading, you can place teachings on a non-dualism, which are often worse than teachings on emptiness, just specifically on emptiness, when it comes to throwing people off the track. Teachings on non-dualism, such as in the Heart Sutra, no attainment and nothing to attain. Yeah. And so this is the first root transgression for a beginner bodhisattva. So what is the crux of the biscuit here is that having a little understanding of emptiness, but with no real understanding of how to properly teach emptiness. And what does that mean? Well, what that means it becomes a little bit clearer as we go along here. And this goes into the results of this. Yeah, of course, it has to have some additional analogies. Let's see. Let's keep going. Looking for the next. Oh yeah. So the phrase that we're looking for here is because for each of these transgressions, there's more to be said after just merely describing the transgression. First root transgression. So now we're going to look for the second root transgression, right? I'm gonna search. Second root. All right, and then we'll have to back up. All right. Speaking such words is a second root transgression for a beginner bodhisattva. So the first transgression was ineptly teaching emptiness to those who are not ready for it. Let's see. There's lots to get there. Furthermore, okay, here it is. Furthermore, beginner bodhisattvas may say to some people. So there's lots that's said after the first root transgression is presented. Then there's more kind of elaboration on what this actually means, and then there's also what you should do if you have made this transgression, and how, if you properly atone for and confess this transgression, Avalokiteshvara will help you to overcome it. Furthermore, beginner bodhisattvas may say to some people, you are not able to engage in the practice of the six perfections. You are not able to manifestly and completely awaken to unsurpassable, perfectly complete enlightenment. Okay, so now, instead of ineptly teaching about Mahayana to people who aren't ready for it, this is where this is where the beginner bodhisattva mistakenly thinks that they can tell the difference between those who are ready for it and those who aren't, and says to those that they mistakenly think aren't ready for it, oh, you're not ready for it. So, therefore, you should study. Therefore, quickly turn your mind to the Shravaka vehicle or the Pratyeka Buddha vehicle, and you will swiftly be definitively released from samsara. Speaking such words is the second root transgression for a beginner bodhisattva. And so these are kind of two sides of the same coin, and they both reflect the very partial and imperfect understanding of Mahayana Buddhist teachings that we get. You know, when we first hear it and we get something, we kind of see it. I mean, we're attracted to these teachings, and we it's very easy to get a glimpse of how wonderful these teachings are, and then want to go share them with everyone, right? I mean, that's understandable. But there is a certain arrogance involved in there, in thinking that you are capable of doing that. And that's what's being warned against here. Okay. Furthermore, there's another root transgression. Beginner bodhisattvas may say to some, oh, what is the use of practicing Vinaya and Pratimoksha as ethical discipline and good conduct? You should swiftly bring forth the mind that strives for unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment and study the Mahayana. So this is saying dispense with all of the ethical teachings of Buddhism. And so there's if you actually pay attention to the Mahayana teachings, then you know that, as specifically pointed out, the six perfections, that is the six paramitas, in the second root downfall, the beginner bodhisattva mistakenly thinks that there's some that he can identify, or she or they can identify people who are not ready to hear about the six paramitas and are not ready to hear about Mahayana teachings in general, not just emptiness, not just non-dualism. But if you know the six paramitas, then you know that the second paramita is sila, ethics, discipline. Therefore, anybody who says, oh, what is the use of practicing the Vinaya of the Pratimoksha, ethical discipline, and good conduct? You know, that represents a pretty shallow understanding of Mahayana Buddhist teachings. Nevertheless, none of these things are mistakes that I haven't made. None of these things are mistakes that are not very common among enthusiasts of Mahayana Buddhism. This isn't. You shouldn't go around looking for other people who are making these mistakes. You should look within at yourself. I should look at myself. Definitely. Okay. Okay, so this is the third root transgression. That you can dispense with ethical teachings, discipline, and good conduct. Furthermore, here comes another one. Beginner bodhisattvas may say, son of a noble family, eschew the discourses of the Shravaka vehicle. Do not listen to them. Do not read them. Do not teach them. Eschew the discourses of the Shravaka vehicle. So what are the discourses? What is sometimes referred to as Hinayana Buddhism. How should I say this? Any good teacher of any form of Mahayana Buddhism understands that there are three turnings of the wheel of the Dharma, and that the Buddha turned the wheel of the Dharma 3 times, not because the first time he didn't get it right, so he turned it again the second time, and that was a little bit closer. Then finally on the third time he got it right. That's not what the 3 turnings of the wheel of the Dharma is about. The 3 turnings of the wheel of the Dharma are for all of us. It's not that the first turning is for some people. This is another misinterpretation of 3 turnings of the wheel of Dharma. The first turning is for some people, the second turning is for other people, and the third turning is for, yet again, a third group of people. All 3 turnings are for all of us. And when Buddhist teachings are presented, that should be made clear. And when Buddhist teachings are being listened to and received, that should be understood, remembered. And this is an example of failing to take that in. So this is the 4th root transgression, thinking that the Shravaka vehicle, the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, only applies to some lesser beings. Furthermore, the beginner bodhisattva may be two-faced, thinking one thing but professing another. They may also propagate and versify the Mahayana teachings, and for the purpose of gain and honor, they may chant those verses, recite, memorize, read, and explain them, and even teach others things that they have merely heard, saying, I'm a follower of the Mahayana. Others, however, are not. I am a follower of the Mahayana. Others, however, are not. This is a bad thing to say. They seek gain and honor. They act jealous. So anyway, it is therefore considered a very serious transgression that leads to rebirth in the lower realms. Okay, all right. So this is the, what is that? What are we up to now? 5th. And then at this point, this is the 5th root transgression. Furthermore, son of a noble family, in the future there will be beginner bodhisattvas, householders or ordained, who will recite and chant sutras that contain profound emptiness. These Mahayana sutras are the object of understanding of bodhisattvas who need only little effort, and who are greatly intelligent beings, adorned with dharani's tolerance, meditative concentration, and the grounds, that is the bhumis, that have made some progress on the so-called, not so-called, but the bhumis, the 10 bhumis, if you're familiar with that. Having recited them, they extensively teach these sutras to others. They say, I have understood these teachings with my own intelligence. I teach them to you in this way because I am compassionate. Therefore, you must meditate on this profound Dharma in order to directly perceive it. And you too will come to behold primordial wisdom just as I do now. And sometimes people actually say it almost exactly like that. And here's what one should probably say instead. I have not actualized this most profound Dharma, but I teach it merely for reading it out. Let me say that again. I have not actualized this most profound Dharma, but I teach it by merely reading it out. Okay? And let me tell you, there's actually a lot to be said for that. If you want to really come face to face with how little you understand about the Dharma, try explaining it to others, and pay attention while you're trying to explain it to others. Pay attention at how little you at how ineptly you. And I'll only talk for myself, very specifically, but I'm going to generalize still a little bit and say this is something that other people should do. If you pay attention when you're trying to explain the Dharma, then you will. It is about the most humbling thing that you can do. And so it isn't a matter of just so this I will quibble a little bit here. It isn't just a matter of reading it out, because but teach it by merely reading it out. By reading it out, if you read it out, if you pay attention, then you will gain some more understanding. But the first step in that gaining more understanding is seeing how little you already understand it. Okay, all right. So this is the, what are we up to now? That's 6, I think, right? 5th, 6th. The analogy here that he likes. Therefore, if beginner Bodhisattvas who have gained this hard to achieve human birth. Furthermore, okay, this must be the 7th one. In the future, Kshatriyas will have dishonorable advisors and ministers, dishonorable soldiers, and physicians, rich and powerful fools who are proud of their expertise, seemingly to engage in many meritorious deeds of giving. Out of arrogance and pride, they will cause division within the Kshatriyas. Backed by the Kshatriyas, they may even punish the monastics, thus being wronged. So, yeah, this is basically following bad teachers, especially, and it has something to do with Kshatriyas specifically, which, of course, I'm not, but yeah. This is mostly referring to Kshatriyas and monastics, neither of which I am. Let's see. So this is the, let's see. Furthermore, those dishonorable Kshatriyas, together with the monastics, commit the following fault. They declare pure Dharma to be non-Dharma. They abandon the practice. So this is kind of an interesting detail. They abandon the practices of calm abiding and special insight, whatever you want to call them. Samadhi and prajna, shamatha and vipassana. The most basic, the two basic fundamentals of meditation. Yeah. So the last two, I don't find. Maybe I should probably read more. I don't want to get ahead of myself. The first 6 of the 8 problems that beginner bodhisattvas have, and I'm going to try to end with this, are pretty obvious. They have to do with the kind of arrogance that can, and almost naturally, so a beginner bodhisattva by definition is someone who has very little understanding. And with little understanding, but having that little understanding to seize on it and think that it's a much more understanding than it really is not. It's not that uncommon. In fact, it happens to us all the time. And this is a warning against that. And I would just say that there's actually nothing better in samsara than being a beginner bodhisattva, as long as you don't screw it up. Being a beginner bodhisattva is it's not the path. It is it means being a beginner on the path to Buddhahood. And there's no greater good fortune that can befall any of us than that. And in the Buddhist teaching on the 6 realms, the hell realms, hungry ghost realm, the animal realm, the human realm, the jealous god realms, and the god realm, the highest heavenly realms. Each of those realms is associated with a particular klesha or affliction, and because they're all part of samsara, and therefore they have to be associated with, to some extent, all of the kleshas. But each of them has a particular klesha that, although the middle two, the animal and human realm, are both associated with the klesha of ignorance. What is it? There's there's hatred, greed. So hatred is the klesha of the hell realms. Greed is the klesha of the hungry ghost realms. Ignorance is the klesha of both the animal realm and the human realm. So, and the distinction between the two is, how much, in addition to kleshas, we all have some good karma too. So, how much good karma you have enough good karma, then you get into the human realm, I guess. If I'm doing my karmic algebra correctly here. And then the klesha that is associated with the jealous god's realms is, of course, jealousy. And then the klesha that's associated with the highest heavenly realms, the god realms, as opposed to the jealous god realms, is pride. But actually, the best thing that can happen to you in samsara is not to get into the heavenly realm, but to become a beginner bodhisattva. That is the best thing that can happen in all of samsara. And it is also, as Akashagarbha seems to be telling us, it can be associated with the klesha of pride. And so the pride in thinking that you know how to teach these things that you have just barely gained a glimpse of. Pride in thinking that you know who's at what level. Pride in thinking that what were the other 4? Yeah, I'm going to go back and share my screen again just to wrap this up. Oh yeah, 3rd root. I apologize, this isn't that well organized, but dispensing with ethical teachings. What is the use of practicing Vinaya and Pratimoksha? Dispensing with the ethical teachings, ethical conduct. The 4th root is dispensing with the dispensing with the Hinayana teachings. That is the Sravakayana teachings. That's the 4th root. The 5th root is the fifth root is thinking that you are thinking that you are better than others because of your very small understanding of Mahayana. And 6th root Oh yeah. Hmm, make sure. Is a little bit of. I'm sure there's more details in here, but it's a little bit of repetitive with the previous ones. Um, I think the essence of it is here. I have understand these teachings with my own intelligence. I teach them to you in this way because I am compassionate. Therefore, you must meditate on this profound Dharma in order to perceive it, and you too will come to behold primordial wisdom just as I do now. That's just being fully yourself, okay? And so these, the next two, I'm sure are very important. Um, I I honestly need to look at them more closely and think about them more, and maybe can work something out. But the first six seem pretty clear to me, and maybe that's me getting ahead of myself and thinking I know more than I do. But they all seem to be related to arrogance and pride. Um, uh, but there's lots of other really good stuff in this sutra. But one of the really wonderful things about the Akashagarbha Sutra is that it is directed to beginner bodhisattvas like me. So maybe that's why I like it. And a lot of it is cautionary, but for each of these, there are instructions given on how to. It doesn't just tell you to avoid doing them. It also assumes that maybe you have done them and what you can do about them, ways that you can, um, uh, uh, practices that you can do to get Akashagarbha's help in overcoming these. Okay, so I'm going to end it here, and I'll try to do a couple more of these actually on some other interesting aspects of this really interesting sutra. And the reason why I'm doing these now is because a group of us are going to be reading this sutra together this coming Saturday. On what is this coming Saturday? Saturday, May 9th. There should be a link in the description to this video for that. And may all beings benefit from reading this sutra and from our practice and from my honest but probably very limited partial attempt to say something useful about this sutra. May all beings benefit.